All right, so let's talk, how do I get started? Okay, so if you want to get started with your VA loan, where you start is you need to find a lender. Okay, a lender is somebody who is going to help you get your pre-approval letter, which basically just says, based off of your income, which you get from your LES, this is what you are approved at. So that allows you to go to the next portion where you find a real estate agent. And then you take that pre-approval letter and say, hey, this is what I'm approved for. Let's start looking for properties that are within this price range. And then you can begin your search with that agent. All right, so here's some tips for how to select a lender, okay? You want to shop around. You want to talk to a lot of different people. You want to get different quotes. You want to compare and contrast, okay? At a minimum, talk to 3. From my personal experience as an active duty service member and also as a veteran, what you really want to look for in your lender is, if you're on active duty, you want to work with a lender who has done multiple VA loans. They're very experienced. They understand the VA process, and they're very familiar with using that loan product, okay? So you want somebody that's gonna be trustworthy. You're gonna want somebody that you can have a conversation with, ask them a ton of questions, and they give you quick responses back to those questions, okay? You're just building trust with that person because it's just another human being that you're gonna do business with. Like it's an interpersonal reaction, and you wanna like the person, okay? But you also wanna make sure that they know what they're doing. All right, next is your real estate agent, okay? So this is a very important person. First we had the lender, now we have the agent. So the agent, things that you wanna look for in your real estate agent. You wanna see how many properties they've closed in the past. You wanna understand their background, how long they've been in the market, what their understanding is, if they have ratings and reviews. You wanna look at their reviews from other clients that they've done deals with or that they've helped to purchase properties or also to sell, and you wanna see what other people are saying about that individual. Personally, from my experience, I always liked the referral network. When I got started, I talked to other people that had already closed VA loans, that had already gotten started in the process, and I asked for their agents and I asked for their lenders, because that's already one degree of, hey, I've already worked with this person and they did a great job for me. So you don't have to make the process more complicated than it needs to be. Keep it simple, okay? Your background in the military, you're very good at building relationships with people and communication. So you take those skills and then you apply them to finding a lender and finding a real estate agent. All right, so some other stuff to look for and watch out for when looking for your first property. The biggest stuff that's really gonna cause any issues is gonna be mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Okay, so that's your big systems. That's your water heater, that's your HVAC system, your air condition, your heat, plumbing leaks, electrical issues with the box. And I know this might seem, if you're seeing this for the first time, this might seem overwhelming. Don't worry, there's still an inspection process, and there's a lot of safety precautions and things that are in place with the VA loan that don't really allow you to buy a really beat up, rundown property. So that works in your benefit. Okay, some of the other stuff that might seem tough from the outset, that's like, oh, there's the paint color, or there's this, or maybe there's an odor in the property. That stuff might seem like it's a big deal up front, but I promise you from my experience, and been doing this for a couple of years, and those are things that you shouldn't shy away from because they can be easily fixed and they're generally not very expensive. When you're out looking for properties, what I will say is, even if the property doesn't look up to date, it looks a little bit dated, maybe it was built in the 70s or the 80s and it's got some old kind of dingy interior, that's all stuff that you can fix. And how I got started, I just learned how to fix all of this stuff and update things and paint and do carpeting and trim work, all these other little intricacies that nobody really talks about in real estate. You can find all of that stuff and how to fix it on YouTube. And the reason I started School of Grit was just not even just to be the subject matter expert for that stuff, but just to help people along in their journey and say, hey, this is not super complicated. Don't overthink it. And here's where you can find how to fix this. And here's a cost-efficient way of doing so. And that's just from my personal experience. So like I said, like you really just want to make sure that what we call the bones of the property, the foundation, the roof, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, like I said, you want to make sure that that stuff is all in good shape. And then once you've got that, and if the property is in a halfway decent area, you're in really good shape to purchase that property. And then that first year or year and a half or 2 years, however long you decide to live there for, what I did was you just make small improvements over time and get that property ready and make some updates and make it more appealing, maybe add some other amenities to that property that somebody is gonna wanna rent. And that's your way of getting to your financial freedom, is you're making that property, you're putting a little bit of money into it, you're putting some sweat equity, which is what we like to call like work, and you're gonna get that money back over time because somebody's gonna rent your property and they're gonna pay you rent, and then you're gonna be able to keep that cash flow and then move on to your next property or your next whatever you wanna go do in life with that little bit of extra spending change. All right, so if you're interested in learning more and what I've said is interesting to you, go over to schoolofgrit.co, join our community. We send out weekly emails with updates of how to do stuff, cool things that we're working on. But really what we've fostered is a community of like-minded individuals that are all trying to better themselves through real estate, through entrepreneurship, and everybody shares experiences and helps each other to go on and do great things.